Oh,
Hey, Rod, you looking good.
good,
Well,
good God, Roger. It looks like you're on planet Romulus.
That's it. 2 moons.
ooh,
Dual, dual moons.
Yeah.
Roger, you're a little distorted though in the vocal
Audio.
end.
Yeah, it's a new microphone. The walls are all empty in my room because we're working on it. Sorry. Turn it off.
Okay. Maybe over this way.
There you go. Down there.
I thought you were giving the Vulcan peace sign, Mayor Mays. So I'm flying it back to live long and prosper.
You thought I was what?
I live long and prosper. I can't do it without sticking my finger here. See, that's the Vulcan peace sign. Here, let me see. There you go. Hey, she can do it. It's Tanya Moffat. That's because you learned it at Columbia High School. I know.
I had the best principal ever.
Ah, there you go. You're just brownie points. But I do miss you. You're a good one.
I can't say I miss high school though.
Yeah, well, neither can I. So running down those halls and chasing those drunk kids on Friday nights, going to high school dances in A Court until midnight.
Yep.
Hey, Tim, you turned your camera off, but your mic's still on.
Oh.
I've got 5:30 PM, so I'm going to go ahead and start the meeting. Welcome, everyone, to the January 11th regular city council meeting. I would now like to ask the city clerk to please call the roll.
Linda Miller. I see her.
There we are. Go ahead. Here.
Darcy Long Curtis.
Here.
Kim McLaughlin.
Present.
Rod Runyon.
Present.
Scott Randall.
Present.
And Mayor May.
Present. Thank you. I'd like to call everyone's attention to the frame on your screen of the City Hall conference room, where you'll see an American flag standing in the corner. And at this point, I'd like to ask Councilor Scott Randall to please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Mayor. Will everyone please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of
To the flag
Flag,
the United States of
of the United
America
States of America,
and to the republic for which
for which
it
it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation, under God,
indivisible.
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Randall. I'd like to now turn it over to the city clerk because we have several oaths of office to administer. Ms. Grossman? I like to, while she's doing that, I'd like to announce also that after the oaths of office are administered, we will have to be electing a council president. So I'd like the council to stand by for that as well. So Go ahead, Ms. City Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. We will now do the oaths of office for our newly elected or re-elected positions. We'll start with Mayor Mays. Please stand, raise your right hand and repeat after me. You ready?
Yes.
I, Richard A. Mays,
I, Richard A. Mays,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
and laws of the United States of America
and laws of the United States of America
and the state of Oregon
and the state of Oregon
and the charter and ordinances
and the charter and ordinances
of the city of the Dalles,
of the city of the Dalles,
and that I will,
and that I will,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
faithfully and honestly perform the duties
faithfully and honestly perform the duties
of the mayor of the city of the Dalles
of mayor of the city of the Dalles
during my continuance therein.
during my continuance therein.
Congratulations and thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much.
Next, we will do the oath of office for Dan Richardson, position 4. Ready, Dan?
Ready.
Okay. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Dan Richardson,
I, Dan Richardson,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution and laws
that I will support the Constitution and laws
of the United States of America
of the United States of America
and the state of Oregon
and the state of Oregon
and the charter and ordinances
and the charter and ordinances
of the city of the Dalles,
of the city of the Dalles,
and that I will,
and that I will,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
faithfully and honestly perform
faithfully and honestly perform
the duties of Counselor Position 4
the duties of Counselor Position 4
of the city of the Dalles
of the city of the Dalles
during my continuance therein.
during my continuance therein.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Darcy Long Curtis. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Darcy Long Curtis,
I, Darcy Long Curtis,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
and the laws of the United States of America
and the laws of the United States of America
and the state of Oregon
and the state of Oregon
and the charter and ordinances of the city of the Dalles,
and the charter and ordinances of the city of the Dalles,
and that I will,
and that I will,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
faithfully and honestly perform
faithfully and honestly perform
the duties of Council Position Number 2
the duties of Council Position Number 2
of the city of the Dalles
of the city of the Dalles
during my continuance therein.
during my continuance therein.
Congratulations. Rod Redden.
Thank you.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Rod Runyon. Is he muted?
Counselor
You're muted,
Runyon,
bud.
you're muted.
There we go. Sorry about that. Okay.
I, Rod Runyon,
I, Rod Runyon,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
and the laws of the United States
and the laws of the United States
of America, sorry,
of America
and the state of Oregon
and the state of Oregon
and the charter and ordinances
and the charter and ordinances
of the city of the Dalles,
of the city of the Dalles,
and that I will,
and that I will,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
faithfully and honestly perform
faithfully and honestly perform
the duties of Counselor Position Number 5
the duties of Counselor Position Number 5
of the City of the Dalles
of the City of the Dalles
during my continuance therein.
during my continuance therein.
Congratulations. Thank you all.
Okay, as I indicated before, it is our duty at the first council meeting of the year to elect a new council president. So at this point, I'd like to open it up to the floor for any nominations.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Runyon,
I had the pleasure a year ago or 2 years ago, whatever it was, a year ago, I guess, to nominate Tim McLaughlin as council president. I see no reason to change horses in midstream, and I'd like to nominate Timothy McLaughlin as council president for the City of the Dalles.
is there a second?
I would happily second that, Mr. Mayor.
It's been moved by Councilor Runyon and seconded by Councilor Richardson to elect Councilor Tim McLaughlin as council president. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 I believe that was unanimous, although I didn't see Councilor McLaughlin vote. Okay, it is indeed unanimous. Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Item 5, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Mayor, I will move to approve the agenda.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I second it.
It's been moved by Councilor Long Curtis and seconded by Councilor Randall to approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of approving the agenda, please say aye.
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 All those in favor of approving the agenda, please say aye.
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 Thank you. Okay, item 6A, a presentation to our outgoing city councilor, Linda Miller. I'd like to turn it over to the city manager, Julie Kruger.
Thank you, Mayor. I thought you might have some remarks too, but I will go ahead and do the presentation.
I do have some remarks, but I'm going to delay those until after the presentation.
Okay. On behalf of the City of the Dalles, oh, I'm gonna cry. Gosh darn it. Me too. Okay, we'll cry together. Thank you for all your years of service to the City Council. I'm gonna do it this way. So we'd like to present you with All Together the Dalles, which is you in those words exactly, and it has a little plaque at the bottom with your years of service to the city.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so
I would
much.
love to say a lot more, but I'll write you a letter. Thank you so much for your service. And we'll let you take that, and then Mr. Mayor, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. I think as the mayor, I think one of my biggest regrets during my 2 years is the fact that I only got to serve with Linda Miller for 2 years on the city council. Linda, I've always appreciated your honesty, your integrity, and you didn't have any hidden agendas. You had one motive and one goal in mind, and that was always to do what was in the best interest of the City of the Dalles. I hope to keep you involved. We've talked about that. Your name's going to come up a little later on the agenda. And I think you've been a great asset for the city. The city as a local government and also an asset to the community of the Dalles. So thank you very much for your service. And I know I speak for everyone else when I tell you how much I appreciate it.
And I will miss you, Linda.
I'll miss you, Tim.
Bye.
At council meetings only.
Well, ditto for me as well. Linda Miller, you have been somebody that I could depend on to hash out a difficulty, and I've always appreciated your opinion. and you will be sorely missed in this small group here, but I hope we continue to have your voice when needed on any particular subject, and not just the waste group up on the hill. Okay, but on so many things that you've led us on over the years on City Council. Thank you very much.
You're not going to get rid of me that easily.
Good.
At this point, I'd like to recognize former Mayor Steve Lawrence. I know Steve would like to say a few words. Steve?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Can you hear me?
Yes. Very.
Okay. I requested this opportunity because I had the honor as mayor of serving with Linda Miller for 6 of the years she has been on City Council. Democracy starts at the local level with citizens who choose to serve the community they love without pay. Those who serve best come prepared, make themselves available to the public, stand up when necessary, and give of their time freely. Linda, your service has been a model for all others who choose to serve. Thank you for the honor of serving with you, and congratulations on 8 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, anyone else? I can't see all the screens, but okay. Thank you very much. And with that, that is a beautiful little present you got there, Linda. You can see a rendition of that on the south wall of the Chronicle building on East 3rd Street. Just recently painted and photographed. Okay, item 6B is our fiscal year 2019 and 20 audit report. And I believe Tanya Moffett is here from Marine and Company. Unless, is there any opening remarks by either the city manager or the finance director, or should we just go right to Tanya?
Angie, did you have any introductory comments?
No, I don't.
Okay, then we'll turn it over to Tanya.
Go ahead, Tanya.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members for the City of the Dells. I am here tonight to present the June 30, 2020 audited financial statements. And I'm going to give you an overview of the City of the Dells, the Columbia Gateway Urban Renewal, as well as the Columbia Gorge Regional Airport. We issued our opinions on December 10th, 2020. And our opinion is a unmodified or a clean opinion, which is the highest level of a financial statement opinion that we can give on a financial statement. I'm happy to report that there were no restrictions placed on our audit. Whenever we asked for things, we received them in a timely manner. There were no significant difficulties incurred during the course of the audit. This was also done remotely, as we did all of our audits remotely this year. So that went as smoothly as possible, considering all things considering. We were able to get the information very quickly from the city personnel when we asked for it. And that was not just in the finance team, that was also outside of the finance team as well, because we look at a lot of different things while we're doing the audit. There were no disagreements with management. And there was one new significant accounting policy adopted, which was GASB 95, which basically pushed off the other pronouncements so that we didn't have to do any new pronouncements this year. It was a COVID-related pronouncement. So basically, if you look at the June 30, 2020 financial statements and compare them to the June 30, 2019 financial statements, they're going to be comparable. We didn't find any transactions entered into by the city that lacked authoritative guidance. In some cases, management may decide to consult with an external CPA or another accountant, and there was no such consultation. In the city's financial statements, there's also a report that's called the Independent Auditor's Report by Oregon State Regulations. This is a report that the Oregon State Legislature has municipal auditors specifically report on. These things include some items that are not necessarily financially based. So for example, one of the things that we look at is ORS 279, which is public purchasing laws and regulations. We also look at Oregon budget law to ensure that the public has had an opportunity to comment on the budget and that the city spends the funds within the budget means. I'm happy to report that we didn't have any findings for the city of the Dalles. For the Columbia Gate, did somebody start to say something? Okay. For the Columbia Gateway Urban Renewal Agency, I'm happy to report that it was also an unmodified or clean opinion, and we didn't have any findings on the Oregon Minimum Standards report for the Urban Renewal Agency as well. For the Columbia Gorge Regional Airport, we also had an unmodified or clean opinion for the airport. This one was issued on November 18th, 2020. One thing to note is that we did have one material weakness or significant deficiency, I'm sorry, for the airport. And this was in regards to the controls not in place to ensure that leases contracts were updated when the lease terms expired. Audit procedures noted that lease revenues did not consistently match the agreed upon leases, and lease terms were not appropriately updated when expired. The existence of such deficiencies indicated that a system of internal controls did not detect and prevent such errors. Management should address the inherent limitations in internal control systems or modify their oversight. Management's response to this finding is that the airport management team has developed a tracking system and 2 redundant levels of control to ensure this issue will not only be resolved, but will never occur again in the future. So I'm happy to report that although we found a deficiency when we were looking at the airport contracts that were held by the airport management team, that they weren't necessarily being updated on a regular basis, or the terms didn't agree to the amount that they were actually paying, the city has implemented a plan to take care of or remedy this issue and concern that we identified during that audit. Does anybody have any questions for me on the financial statements or the audit or what we do?
Any questions from this? Okay, with that, thank you very much. And it's been a pleasure, I know, for us to have you as our auditor. And thank you. And I'm not sure how far does your, Angie, how far does your contract go for Marina? Is it going to next year?
This would be the last year, and then we go out for RFP. But Tanya, did you do the city's audit yet?
Yeah, I did the cities too.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
We appreciate the opportunity to work with the city and look forward to potentially working with you in the future. If anybody has any questions, please do not hesitate to ask us. So, thank you and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you very much. Okay, item 6C is Downtown Lou Project, and I'd like to introduce Judy Merrill, not Miller, it's Judy Merrill. Judy.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Mayor and members of the council. Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me? Hello?
I can hear you.
Yes, okay, thank you. Yes, my name is Judy Merrill, and I'm a concerned citizen, lived here in the Dalles for 20 years, and I'm a registered nurse and also a member of the Beautification Committee. And I'd also like to introduce Evan Madden, who is on his phone in the meeting, and he is the Director of Sales of the Portland Lou, and he's here to answer any questions that I cannot answer, and he's also available anytime if you have any questions or would like more information. I've worked a lot with Evan and have learned a lot from learning about the local and the national issues regarding the Lou. I began studying the availability of public restrooms here in the Dalles citywide, and then I narrowed it down to the downtown quarter, and I began that in 2016. The package I've provided each of you consists of several different things. One is a summary of the loo, of the work that I've done for the last 4 years. 2 are the benefits that I believe are very important to have a public restroom 24/7, 365 days of the year. And then there's number 3 are bullet points that Evan has put together regarding the loo. And that also is included is the expected installation cost, which is in red on your paper. 4 is the cost of the unit itself, the price quote, and also it includes specific add-ons if the city would choose to have them. 1 is a cold weather toilet. 5 is a letter from Evan, and in that letter, he reviews the changes that have occurred since I met with the city council 2.5 years ago. And that's to increase the durability and the function of the loo, and why the price has gone up since 2018. 6 are 4 letters of support. 2 of them are from businesses downtown. 1 is from Lines of Design and also Quint's bookstore. And then the 3rd is from the Beautification Committee. And 4th is from Julie Kruger, who is your city manager, as you well know. And in that letter from Julie, she shared that what the city is willing to provide, and that includes the lot itself, the space, and also the willing to pay the cost to extend the water and the sewer service, including the labor, equipment, materials, cost to hire a plumber, and would agree to pay the ongoing water and sewer fees. At this point, and since my meeting with the council in 2018, the council gave me direction to work with Julie, which I did for several years, and which I really appreciated Julie's work and support during that time period. In November, she attended our beautification committee, at which time I gave her an update and reviewed the loo, and sharing that I would like to move it on to the council at this point. At this point, I'm asking the city to go beyond the letter of support and commitment that was made back in May of 22nd of 2018. And with that, it would be to pay for the purchase of the unit itself, to pay for the installation cost, and also for the ongoing maintenance. As a single citizen, I have researched as much as I can, and I would like now to put it into the hands of our city. I understand really that there has been many unexpected costs this year due to the COVID virus, but I am really hoping that this permanent public restroom will be put on the budget agenda on January 29th of this year. As this is an issue that will only become more critical, I really believe, with the influx of more tourism when this COVID virus lifts, and the people in our downtown area, more tourism also. I feel like it's very humane, showing dignity and respect for all the people in our city and for our tourists. So if there are any questions, I would like to invite you to ask me any questions, and if I cannot answer them, I'll direct it to Evan.
Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Merrill?
Mr. Mayor, I don't think I have any additional questions. I did talk with Ms. Merrill earlier this week. I just want to say, Judy, thank you for your time in researching and moving this project along and bringing it to our attention.
Thank you, Counselor. Does anybody else have any questions or comments?
My questions will be directed to our city manager.
Go ahead, Counselor Runyon.
I thought you wanted to continue with the presentation.
I think
No,
the presentation was over.
Yeah, I'm done with my presentation, as it was just an outline of what you have in front of you, and ask any questions that you might have.
Okay. Well, it's a long needed facility in downtown The Dells, and there may be a need for another one, maybe at the opposite end of town somewhere. I'm not sure of that, but definitely we need one. I just want to go down the costs and whatnot. Julie, if you're still on with us here, and where the money's coming from and all the questions we should be asking regarding that. The $103,650 for the units was the note that we had in the updated memo, with another $1,650 for shipping. That was $105,000. I see that the installation fees can be anywhere from $3,600 to $5,000. The foundation costs anywhere from $7,200 to $9,000. So there's a number of fixed costs, or fairly fixed costs, right there. I just want to make sure where we're getting those funds. And then the big one that I would like to hear more about, the estimated maintenance per year annually, $11,000 to $12,000 per year, and how that will be handled. The other question I would have is, initially, is there any way that that this can be handled through COVID funds? Because it's directly related, just like putting restrooms out there at our homeless camp out on the port property. It just seems like maybe there's some opportunity there to at least have some of these first year costs taken out of somewhere else, funding from the different grants that are out there. Just a thought. That's what I've got.
Thank you, Counselor. I think the nature of your questions assume that that this had been already approved. But I don't think it's been approved. This is a presentation from a citizen asking the city to consider it. Isn't that right?
It kind of goes back and forth in that letter a little bit, but even Julie's letter was 2018. So anyway, I just, if we're going to do this, I think it's a great idea in my opinion, but I just want to make sure we understand where the funds are coming from, not only now, but ongoing, because it is an ongoing project. There's, daily, weekly, if not daily servicing. In some cases, it will be daily as things go along. So those are the kinds of things I want our citizens to understand, that this is just not a thought of, let's just drop it down here and off it goes. And there's a lot to it. There's a lot of upkeep and all the rest of it.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, this is not budgeted in the city's budget at all. When I wrote that letter almost, 2.5 years ago, the proposal was, and what I was working with Judy Merrill on, was a volunteer type group. And where we left it was, my letter was, this is what the city's contribution will be. They were going to look for grant funding to purchase it and to do all those other things like the delivery and the setup and the foundation. And then my request, I guess, not direction, to Judy was, you need to find someone who can do that maintenance, because I only have 2 staff people for all of the general fund maintenance of the entire city. And I don't have the resources to have them go and clean that every single day. And sometimes more than once a day if something disgusting happens in there and it has to be cleaned because no one can use it. And to my knowledge, and Judy can correct me if I'm wrong, she was not able to find anyone to step up and do that maintenance. And at the time she had someone helping look for grants, but I don't know that that ever happened. So this is not a project that's in the city budget. And honestly, I didn't have any plans to put it in next year's budget. What with our reduced revenues and holding the line for our next year's budget, I've already been telling my staff, don't put anything in the budget that's new, no new people, no new projects, no new programs, because we just don't know where we're going to be financially. So we're trying to be very prudent. So this has changed now because Judy wants to hand it over to the city, but I just don't think the city is in a position right now where we can do this. We do have 24/7 portable toilets down at the festival park that have been there since March, and they are still there. So we do have some restrooms open for that use.
I guess what I was really looking for was just exactly that on the record, that clarification that there's a lot of expenses here that, I think we need such a facility, but I'm just trying to figure out how we pay for it. And apparently we're not there yet. Is it possible that COVID funds could be used to at least get the ball rolling, so to speak? Is that a thought?
It would be, but our COVID grant has concluded, and right now we don't have any new ones on the horizon. If we do have another one that gets offered, we could certainly look at that, but we would still have to address the maintenance issue, which is basically hiring another person. So that's, it's not just $11,000. If I have to hire someone, we're talking about wages, benefits, and everything that goes with that. So the ongoing cost to the city plus what we've already offered to pay for the water and sewer would be pretty substantial.
Thank you, Julie. The maintenance, again, as I pointed out, was my primary concern, how that was going to be done. That's all I've got.
Councilor Lon Curtis.
Yeah, so I just want to say that I'm really proud of Judy and also Widge Johnson. They came to me when they were originally looking at this project and asked for assistance in navigating the process and working with the city. And I think that as individual citizens, they have done a fantastic job. And I think at this point, I understand what Judy is asking. She's saying as an individual, she doesn't have the capacity to continue on, but she believes in this project, which I also believe in this project. And so I would be willing to serve on a committee or however it's appropriate that the city manager recommends to sort of pick this up and see what we can do with moving it forward with the full understanding that this isn't going to be a short-term project and we're not trying to drop it into this year's upcoming budget, but I just don't want it to be dropped. And I do feel that this is something the city of the Dalles should take on.
I agree.
I also agree with those sentiments. I think the maintenance seems to be the big issue. I think the capital, it looks to me like adding all the numbers together, it's going to cost one time 125 to 135,000, and then that does not include the daily maintenance. But I also support having. I think we really need one of these. This, in the absence of anyone else stepping up, I think the city should, if we can find the money and figure out the maintenance issue. Judy, were you going to say something before? I believe before we turn it over to the city manager, I believe you wanted. Were you going to say something else?
Yes. I really appreciate Julie for your clarifications on that. My intent was not to be misleading whatsoever. And Rod, I appreciate your questions too. And the maintenance is a big piece. And I did a lot of work looking for maintenance and grants, and you cannot get a grant without having that maintenance solidified. And I know we are not other towns, but other towns and cities do provide the maintenance. And sometimes they do have contracts through different identities within their town or city, such as Portland is one of them. So there is research that is available. And like I said, I myself and or Evan is available to help direct, if there is a committee, anyone to get that information. So thank you very much for having me on.
Is my assumption correct, though, that everything is pretty much a one-time cost? I'm not trying to minimize that. I'm just saying everything except for the maintenance would be a one-time cost.
Yes,
That's
Evan?
not correct. The other costs are the monthly water and sewer and also the power that has to be paid for.
Okay.
Of course. Could I ask Evan to answer that too, to give any input?
Sure.
Yeah. Other than ongoing maintenance costs of just cleaning and servicing the restroom, nothing really wears out and breaks on it. What is the biggest weakness is just the door handle. If people find that it's locked when they want it or whatever, it can be smashed and broken, but those parts can be found available locally as well. Electrical is super minimal, about $7 a month in like peak cold weather season, so you have the max draw to keep it warm and operating. Water is also minimal too, at 1.28 gallons per flush. kind of depends on how much it gets used, determines the water consumption, but it's also minimal, and then sewer as well.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions or comments?
I would just like to add my thanks to Ms. Merrill and Ms. Johnson for all the work they've done. It's a big project, and it took a lot of research, and that saved a lot of money right there instead of using city employees for that research. So we really appreciate that. But hopefully we can come up with a way as we go along here. There are many grants out there, but again, that takes the research and the work. And I think Darcy Long Curtis, our city councilor, has an idea there of a possible committee, and we'll talk about that.
Thank you very much for your time.
Anybody else?
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead, Councilor Richardson.
I'd like to, however appropriate, just support the notion that this is worth the city, whether it's an ad hoc committee or staff or however appropriate, that we research the maintenance question and see if there's a partnership to be had. We do have a budget process coming up rather soon, and it would be good to know if this is something that'd be feasible for this next cycle. And if maintenance is the big question, let's see if there's a way to get at that and see if there's any obvious partnerships that we could form.
Anybody else? Okay, there is an offer to form a small subcommittee of counselors to work with the staff to look into this a little further. Councilor Long Curtis has already volunteered. Is there anyone else?
I would possibly, but I need to look at a few other things, as I will be, leaving the country here in a little bit, a couple of months. So I don't want to get in where I can't be, of some real help. So, but at this point, yeah, I would be on that committee.
Okay, we have Councilor Runyon, Councilor Long Curtis, and if Councilor Runyon runs into any difficulties, I'd be happy to step in and take his place, but we'll just leave it with the two of them until further notice.
Yeah.
Okay, does anybody else have any questions or comments about this project? Okay, Judy, thank you very much. You did a lot of work, and the community appreciates all your work and all your endeavors in this matter. Thank you. I'm sure that you'll be available too if the subcommittee would like to talk to you or Evan in the future. You guys will be at their disposal. And you're muted.
Oh, yes, I'll be available as well too.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you all very much. Okay, moving on.
Thank you.
Item 7 is audience participation. During this portion of the meeting, anyone may speak on any subject which does not later appear on the agenda. 5 minutes per person will be allowed. If a response by the city is requested, the speaker will be referred to the city manager for further action. The issue may appear on a future meeting agenda for city council consideration. Citizens are encouraged to ask questions with the understanding that the city can either answer your question tonight or refer the question to the city staff, who will get back to you within a reasonable amount of time. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the city council at this time for up to 5 minutes? I don't see any hand raised. You're going to have to speak up if you'd like to speak. Last call. Thank you very much. With that, item 8 is the city manager's report. Julie.
Thank you, Mayor Mays. I don't have a long report tonight. I just want to congratulate all of you who are newly elected and re-elected, and I look forward to working with you for your terms in the future. And Councilor Miller, again, thank you. I know our friendship's gonna last forever, but I'm very fondly going to remember our work together and our trips to Japan and our lunches. It's been really fun and rewarding, and I have appreciated you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Councilor Miller, I just like that. I'm very impressed that you're sticking around for the rest of the meeting. That's very.
She said she's staying.
I know.
That concludes my report, Mayor.
Thank you. City Attorney's report, Mr. Kara.
Thank you, Mayor Mays. Well, since the last meeting, I think around Christmas week, I spoke with Councilor Long Curtis, and we addressed some of the city's interests for the temporary shelter site for the homeless. We met with the executive director of the YWCA to discuss their fiscal sponsorship of the shelter program. Last week, I spoke with Councilor Richardson. We went over the world of expectations the city has for him, and he certainly came dressed for the occasion tonight. Congratulations again. And other than that, I think I'm working with some of our community partners at making the Dalles just a better place for all of us who call it home, such as the Mid-Columbia Economic Development District, who's hoping to improve our local transportation system and network with some new bus shelters. Of course, our esteemed Public Works Director has been keeping me busy as always, and I expect to stay busy with him through the spring. And finally, later this week, I'll be meeting with our airport manager, David Rasmussen, to give a tour of the airport facilities. And we're working pretty hard on getting the airport in great shape. That's it for my report this week. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jonathan. Okay, we'll move to the city council reports. First person I see is Councilor Randall. Councilor Randall, do you have any report this evening?
I have nothing to report.
Thank you. Councilor Runyon.
Just a couple of things. I've been monitoring the Friday League of Oregon City conference calls, which have many people on there. And those are available, by the way, by going to the website and playing back the content. Generally, there are health officials from the Oregon Health Association and other entities of state government on there, and Fridays at 10 o'clock, 10:05 actually. So those have occupied a little bit of time. Also, there was recently a statewide, special statewide call with Business Oregon about their activities, some of which we are very familiar with as far as grant activity and that sort of thing. I did attend the first part of the last urban renewal session, but did not stay for the executive session, as there are two city councilors on that committee. And so I did not request to be there. That would have been made a quorum of city councilors. The other thing I'll just mention here, because it does affect a portion of City Hall. In the last month or so, I've been made the president of the Mid-Columbia Veterans Memorial Committee, and one of the committees underneath that is the committee that operates the Columbia Gorge Veterans Museum, of which I'm a founding member, and that is now housed, if you have not noticed, in City Hall on the second floor, and we're busy getting that up and running. And a big thank you to City Manager Julie Kruger for offering us that space. And I think it's going to work out great. Still some remodeling and rehab to do to get situated, but we're pretty much there, and just hoping we can get back to where we have City Hall open. And the other thing we're going to add, and I've just had a recent talk with the Mid-Columbia Fire and Rescue, one of their division managers out there, the static fire department museum that's on the first floor of City Hall. And basically, I mean, static by nothing much changes. It's just there. And we've offered and are going to have a formal meeting with the Mid-Columbia Fire and Rescue to actually help operate that facility and make improvements or upgrades if needed down the road. So those things are in the works. And we thank the City of the Dalles for hosting us as the Veterans Museum.
Is that it? Thank you very much.
Yep.
Councilor Long Curtis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So primarily, I've been focusing on the winter warming shelters. And late on Friday, I found out that they wanted to install the additional shelters starting this morning, bright and early. So we've got the outside portions of the structures up, but they've got to come back tomorrow and do the inside and put in the electrical boxes and things. And then after that, we'll need to schedule with the electrician. So I'm not really sure when they're going to be open for additional guests at this point, but it should be very, very soon. We've had lots of community donations, and I just feel like things are going really well. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In the last week, I've had a number of phone conversations. I participated in the League of Oregon Cities call that Councilor Runyon referenced, mostly with regard to two things. And one is just getting up to speed on some sort of introductory issues for getting onto the council, and specifically, and one specific issue additionally, and that's COVID mitigation. I won't go through the list of conversations. There's been a number with yourself and Manager Kruger and Andrea Klaas at the port and various other both officials and residents. I'm not quite sure when it's appropriate, but I would like at some point, whether it's in the context of this report or at the correct time in the meeting, to just raise the COVID mitigation discussion that I've had with a few folks and see when we could discuss moving some of that spending along as appropriate. As you know, we have, I think, something in the neighborhood of $300,000 left in the city budget, specifically for COVID mitigation. And there seems to be a real need, specifically with restaurants and maybe fitness facilities that have been closed a couple of times by state order. So I'll follow your direction on how far to go with discussing that, Mayor Mays, but I would like to see if we could get to that this evening.
Thank you, Counselor. I'd like to ask the city manager, as a follow-up to Counselor Richardson's questions about COVID-19 and the city funds. Is that something you can address right now, or would you like to issue a report at a later time?
I would like to address it now. I agree with Councilor Richardson. The need is urgent right now, particularly for the restaurants and fitness centers that have been closed. If I could get a consensus from the city council tonight, I can go ahead and put something together, and I've already alerted Lisa at the chamber that I might need her assistance again because she's an expert now at getting those grants out the door quickly. You called it COVID relief, I call it economic recovery. So I know that I saw a concerned face in the audience about what are we actually talking about. It's the economic recovery funds that the city budgeted. And I think it would be very helpful to those restaurants, particularly right now, to get some money into their hands very quickly. And I would recommend that we say it's another $100,000 in grants for that. So if I can get the city council's consensus, the money is already budgeted and we could start that process very quickly.
I suspect it would be easier to ask if any counselor has a problem with that. I do see Councilor McLaughlin's hand raised. Councilor McLaughlin?
I support moving that along quickly and rapidly.
Thank you. Councilor Long Curtis?
I do support moving that along quickly because we do need economic recovery, but I'm wondering if maybe we need to look a little broader and maybe not just restaurants and facilities. I don't know who's been tracking this. Maybe Lisa from the chamber has enough information, but I know that there was some frustration on how we dispersed the other dollars, and people felt like if they had known it was available, they would have asked. And I just want to make sure that we're doing something that's fair as well as quick.
I might mention fitness places in the Dalles are being hurt relatively severe, so I would include them in the list.
Well, I thought the city manager was implying that restaurants and health clubs would only be an example of where the money could go. Am I to understand? I assume that, Julie, you were talking about more than just restaurants and health clubs.
Actually, I was not. I have had a conversation with Councilor Richardson, and I think our discussion was those are the most hard hit, and we've already done one round where primarily it was the small businesses. I did have one person after that grant process who emailed me and said that they had not been aware of it. But we gave out over 60 grants and it was well advertised and people applied for it very quickly. So I think, at least it was my understanding from Councilor Richardson, that we would focus on the restaurants and fitness centers that have actually had to more be closed for this round.
Thank you for that.
Whatever your direction is what I will follow.
Yeah, thanks for that clarification.
Mr. Mayor,
I didn't hear who that was. Was that Councilor?
that was, yes, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
I would say, first of all, thank you, Julie, and the rest of the staff and Lisa for getting those earlier grants out just a few weeks ago now, rapidly. So thank you for that. I would say, with regard to the funding, I guess I had sort of a two-part request, and one was an immediate disbursement as Manager Kruger has just described, and then secondly, I guess essentially direction to the staff to come back perhaps in the first meeting of February, the first city council meeting of February or something along those lines, with a plan for how to move with the remainder of the spending. I'd like something that's pretty transparent and coherent. I know that I've had a little trouble tracking all of the dollars, and I think that's important. So that's kind of the two-part request that I would like to put forward.
Julie, is you're suggesting $100,000?
That was my suggestion, yes.
And did you feel that amount is adequate for what you have in mind for only bars and restaurants, or excuse me, restaurants and health clubs?
I do, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, if we open it up, as it has been suggested, to other businesses, what is your inclination as far as that amount of money goes?
If you would like, I can work with the Chamber of Commerce. We can put whatever criteria makes you all comfortable. So we could even say in this round, top priority would be given to the restaurants and fitness centers, and second priority to other businesses, so that we make sure and address everyone who applies as a restaurant or fitness center first.
And under that scenario, you still feel that $100,000 would be adequate?
I do. I guess I wouldn't mind hearing Lisa from the chamber if you think so as well. That's what we did the last time, and I know people were very grateful. I think we ended up giving out $2,000 grants for that, which is more than people have been able to get their hands on from other entities.
Lisa Farquharson, the Executive Director of the Chamber of Commerce. Would you like to comment, please?
So you have a mix of different things happening all at the same time. So I think the 2,000, it's going to be a Band-Aid. But right now the PPP is opening this week, which is doing a favorable change for restaurants at 3.5 months worth of payroll rather than 2.5 months, the standard businesses. And then there are some other things in there. So businesses get to go for a second round. But as you know, that's going to take some time before it's done, approved, and they receive funding. So this 2,000 could be a stopgap once again to help pay, whether it's the rent or even those utilities. And so I'm sure the businesses would love more, but I think the 2,000 is a good an amount that can help and actually look like help for those businesses. And I'm going to ditto that all of our fitness facilities have been shut down twice now, and they can't even do a curbside service. So they are definitely looking at whether they can even survive and come back as a business for our community. And I think that's detrimental to the Dalles, both in health and just economics. Then our restaurants, as you know, are at that limited capacity, and it's just a very vicious cycle between being able to employ and keep our community working to being able to provide a service and cover your overhead with that very limited dollars coming in. So I think those are the two that are hit the hardest. And I think this would be a great start to help just close that gap until they can get the PPP, and hopefully they are able to apply for that too.
Thank you. I think that there certainly doesn't seem to be any question that we ought to get this money out quickly. And there seems to be a sentiment that we should look at other businesses besides restaurants and health clubs. How does the council feel about approving $100,000 with priority to go towards the restaurants and the health clubs, but give the city manager the authority to spend an additional, I'm just throwing out a number here, $50,000 to $100,000 somewhere in there for other businesses, and give her the authority to spend that money as well as she deems necessary and appropriate, and report back to the council on January 25th. Councilor McLaughlin?
I'm in favor of that, yes.
Julie, how do you feel about that?
Thank you. I'm comfortable with that. I think $100,000 is going to go a long way for the fitness and restaurant businesses. So I would be comfortable with just adding $50,000 for the small businesses again at this time. And then, let's see where we are. And you know me, I'm ever hopeful about everything, but I'm hopeful that this week the governor will reduce our severity in our county so that maybe things will be able to open up to a greater degree. So that will also help us keep moving along, and then reevaluate, see how much funding we still have available and where we can best use that.
Thank you. Does anybody have any issues or problems with that approach as described by me and the city manager?
No.
I do. Yeah.
I hear.
Here.
Councilor Runyon.
Yeah, I'm really good on the research part, letting Julie go do that and not putting a number on it at this point. So they have a chance, Lisa and Julie, to talk. I also am not, when we say the word restaurants, that's pretty broad based. I'm not in favor of any money going to national chains that inhabit our city. I want to make sure they are locally owned or locally operated facilities, that sort of thing. So language is going to be very important in what Ms. Farquharson and Ms. Kruger come up with before we say, let's go and move it along.
Agreed. Thank you for making that comment. I think that Lisa and I, that's been our mantra too, is get it to the local, not the chain businesses. And that's what we focused on with our last round as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Seeing none, can I see a show of hands as to the city manager is asking for a consensus? Can I see a show of hands as to people that support that consensus as just described? I see one. I see Councilor Randall, Councilor Long-Curtis, Councilor Richardson, Councilor Runyon, and Councilor McLaughlin. So you have unanimous consensus. Thank you very much. Councilor Richardson, thank you for bringing it up.
Thank you.
Anything else under your report, Councilor Richardson?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor McLaughlin.
Thank you, Mayor Mays. My meetings with you and Julie Kruger continue telephonic, and I will continue to check in periodically. At the airport, I'm pleased to report that the tenant lease agreements have been corrected, the deficit that was happening there, and they're now nearing complete signed agreements, and the revenue is getting back to being current. So they have corrected that deficit, and I'm very pleased to know that. Budget for the upcoming year is underway. Corporate jets, if you haven't noticed, the traffic still continues to increase, and that means increased fuel sales. The manager is also working on a visioning meeting to consider the future of the airport and its future growth, and that's exciting. Number 5, the National Guards and Air Force continue to increase their presence on the airport runways, and that's a nice addition to our airport. And that concludes my report for this week.
Thank you, Councilor McLaughlin. I believe we have everybody. Okay, item 11 is the consent agenda. Items of a routine and non-controversial nature are placed on the consent agenda to allow the city council to spend its time and energy on the important items and issues. Any councilor may request an item be pulled from the consent agenda and be considered separately. Items pulled from the consent agenda will be placed on the agenda at the end of the action items section. There are two main items on the consent agenda. One is the approval of the December 14th regular city council minutes, and the other are several appointments I'm asking the council to approve. They're all listed for you. I would ask that Linda Miller for the Plan Commission be postponed for at least 2 weeks while her and I confer about a possible appointment. But taking that away, I'm asking the council to approve Carly Aparicio for the Plan Commission, David Griffith and Terry Trapp to the Airport Board, and Linda Miller as the city representative to the Household Hazardous Waste Committee. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of to approve the consent agenda?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you.
And McLaughlin will second it.
It's been moved by Councilor Long Curtis and seconded by Councilor McLaughlin to approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Next is a public hearing. This would be a public hearing to consider participating in the Community Development Block Grant Program. And I'd like to turn it over to our staff, and that would be Alice Cannon. Ms. Cannon.
Mayor and members of council, good evening. We have before us an opportunity that was presented to us by Joel Mattson from our local housing authority, the executive director. There is a new opportunity through the statewide Community Development Block Grant Program to provide emergency rental assistance to those in need in the 3-county area, Wasco, Hood River, and Sherman counties. And we were asked in the fall, I included Angie Wilson, our finance director, in that conversation. And we looked at the opportunity, and since it's staff's recommendation to go ahead and continue to be involved with hosting, in essence, hosting this program, because we're already heavily involved in CDBG programs at this time. This one would be an additional program that would benefit for a very finite period of time. It's kind of the funds are available on a one-time basis at this time to provide assistance to those affected economically by COVID. And with that in mind, I really do want to turn over the presentation to Joel Mattson and one of his staff members, Ms. Garcia, who will also be participating in the presentation. But I'm happy at the end to answer any questions that you might have. And I know, Mayor, you do have a question about this.
Thank you. Mr. Mattson, would you like to address the City Council?
Thank you, Mayor Mays and City Council. For the record, I'm Joel Mattson, the Director of Mid-Columbia Housing Authority and Columbia Cascade Housing Corporation, and we promote and administer affordable housing solutions throughout the Mid-Columbia region. We're excited to have the City of the Dalles stepping up once again to sponsor a CDBG application to Business Oregon. This funds, as Ms. Cannon mentioned, have been appropriated through the CARES Act. So this is what Business Oregon considers CV1 funds. So the first round of their community development block grant funds through the CARES Act in this regard. They have, while there is a portion of their CDBG funds that go to micro enterprise and businesses, they have dedicated a portion of their funding to go to these emergency rental assistance pools. It is a first come, first serve application request. So again, we're excited to have this before you this evening. We intend to take on a lion's share of the administration of this program, both determining eligibility, verifying that we meet both the federal and state statutory and regulatory requirements as part of this program. And hopefully that really limits the administrative burden on behalf of the City of the Dalles. It has been recommended by Business Oregon for us to read the public notice that has been out there as part of this public hearing. And I've asked my teammate Naibe Garcia to be here this evening to read that public notice both in English as well as in Spanish. Happy to take questions now as well, but I do hope that we can read into the record the notice of public hearing.
Okay, could you, for the record, introduce yourself and your title and your role with the Housing Authority, please?
Good evening, everyone. I hope you all are well. My name is Naibe Garcia, and I am Administrative Assistant or Office Aide at Mid-Columbia Housing Authority. And if it is okay, I will go ahead and start with the public notice and notice of public hearing in English.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So public notice and notice of public hearing. The City of the Dalles is eligible to apply for a 2020 Community Development Block Grant from the Business Oregon. Community Development Block Grant funds come from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. The grants can be used for public facilities and housing improvements, primarily for persons with low and moderate incomes. Approximately $12 million will be awarded to Oregon non-metropolitan cities and counties in 2020. The maximum grant that a city or county can receive is $500,000. The City of the Dalles is preparing an application for a 2020 Community Development Block Grant from the Business Oregon for the 2020 BCDBG CV1 Emergency Rent Assistance Program located at 313 Court Street, The Dalles, Oregon. The emergency rental assistance payments are to assist low to medium income families struggling with COVID-19 economic impacts and to ultimately help stabilize the community at large. It is estimated that the proposed project will benefit at least 100 persons, of whom 100% will be low or moderate income. A public hearing will be held by the City of the Dalles City Council meeting at 5:30 p.m. on Monday, January 11th, 2021. Due to the COVID pandemic and Governor Brown's executive order, the council meeting will be held via Zoom. Login information is on the agenda at www.thedalles.org/live_streaming or by emailing the city clerk at igrossman@ci.the-dalles.or.s. The purpose of this hearing is for the Dalles City Council to obtain citizen views and to respond to questions and comments about community development and housing needs, especially the needs of low and moderate income persons, as well as other needs in the community that might be assisted with a community development block grant project and the proposed project. Written comments are also welcome and can be sent to igrossman@ci.the-dalles.or.us by 3 p.m. on Monday, January 21st, 2021. The meeting will be available to listen via live stream www.thedalles.org/live_streaming. Then click on City Council Meeting Now Live blue box. You must log in to Zoom to participate. More information about Oregon Community Development Block Grants, the proposed project, and records about the city's past use to community development block grant funds is available for public review by contacting Community Development Director Alice Cannon at acannon@ci.the-dalles.or.us. If special accommodations are needed, please notify City Clerk at 541-296-5481, extension 1119, so that appropriate assistance can be provided. Permanent and voluntary displacement of persons or businesses is not anticipated as a result from the proposed project. If displacement becomes necessary, alternatives will be examined to minimize the displacement and provide a required reasonable benefits to those displaced. Any low and moderate income housing that is demolished or converted to another use will be replaced. And that concludes the English version. If it is okay, I will read the Spanish.
Go ahead.
Aviso público y aviso de audiencia pública. Aviso público y aviso de audiencia pública. La ciudad de The Dalles es elegible para solicitar una subvención en bloque para el desarrollo comunitario 2020 de Business Oregon. Los fondos de subvención en bloque para el desarrollo comunitario provienen del Departamento de Vivienda y Desarrollo Urbano en Estados Unidos. Las subvenciones se pueden utilizar para instalaciones públicas y mejoras de viviendas, principalmente para personas con ingresos bajos y moderados. Aproximadamente $12 millones se otorgarán a ciudadanos y a ciudades y condados no metropolitanos de Oregon en 2020. La subvención máxima que una ciudad o condado puede recibir es de $500,000. La ciudad de The Dalles está preparando una solicitud para una subvención en bloque de desarrollo comunitario 2020 de Business Oregon. Para el programa de asistencia de alquiler de emergencia 2020 VCD-BG CV1, ubicado en 313 Court Street, The Dalles, Oregon. Los pagos de asistencia de alquiler de emergencia son para ayudar a las familias de ingresos bajos o moderados que luchan con los impactos económicos de COVID-19 y, en última instancia, ayudar a estabilizar la comunidad en general. Se estima que el proyecto propuesto beneficiará al menos 100 personas, de las cuales el 100% serán de ingresos bajos o moderados. La ciudad de The Dalles llevará a cabo una audiencia pública, reunión del Consejo Municipal, a las 5:30 p.m. el lunes 11 de enero 2021. Debido a la pandemia COVID y la orden ejecutiva de la gobernadora Brown, la reunión de consejo se llevará a cabo a través de Zoom. La información de inicio de sesión está en la agenda en www.thedalles.org/live_streaming o enviado un correo electrónico al secretario de la ciudad a ci.the/dalles.or.us. El propósito de esta audiencia es que el Ayuntamiento de The Dalles obtenga opiniones de los ciudadanos y responda a preguntas y comentarios sobre el desarrollo comunitario y necesidades de vivienda, especialmente las necesidades de personas de ingresos bajos y moderados, así como otras necesidades en la comunidad que podría ser asistido con un proyecto de subvención en bloque para el desarrollo comunitario y el proyecto propuesto. Los comentarios escritos también son bienvenidos y pueden enviarse a i.grossman@c.the-dalles.or.us antes de las 3 p.m. el lunes 21 de enero de 2021. La reunión estará disponible para escuchar vía live stream www.thedalles.org/live_streaming y luego haga clic en City Council Meeting Now Live Blue Box. Debe iniciar sesión en Zoom para participar. Para más información sobre las subvenciones en bloque para el desarrollo comunitario de Oregon, el proyecto propuesto y los registros sobre el uso pasado de los fondos de la subvención en bloque para el desarrollo comunitario de la ciudad están disponibles para revisión pública, poniéndose en contacto con la directora de Desarrollo Comunitario, Alice Cannon, al acannon@ci.the-dalles.or.us. Si se necesitan adaptaciones especiales, notifique al secretario de la ciudad al 541-296-5481, extensión 1119, para que se pueda proporcionar la asistencia adecuada. No se prevé el desplazamiento involuntario permanente de personas o personas o empresas como resultado del proyecto propuesto. Si el desplazamiento se vuelve necesario, se examinarán alternativas para minimizar el desplazamiento y proporcionar los beneficios requeridos, razonables, a los desplazados. Se reemplazará cualquier vivienda de ingresos bajos y moderados que sea demolida o convertida para otro uso. Thank you. And that concludes the Spanish version.
Thank you very much. Okay, at this point in the public hearing, I'd like to ask for public comment. And after that, we'll get to the city council comments and questions. Is there anyone, excuse me, anybody in the, any member of the public that would like to address this issue? Okay, hearing and seeing none, I'd like to turn it over to the city council. Does anybody have any questions on the city council for the staff or for the housing authority staff? I had a couple of questions about how this would be administered, but it sounds like the housing authority is going to be taking on the bulk of the chore of administrating the grant. That is correct, isn't it, Mr. Madsen?
Mayor Mays, members of the council, we do intend to enter into what's called a subrecipient agreement with the City of the Dalles for administration of these funds. And I'll let Director Cannon speak more to the specificities of what still would remain within the City of the Dalles' purview. But a lion's share of the administrative work is anticipated to be conducted by our organization and would be covered through that subrecipient agreement with the City of the Dalles.
Yes, Mayor Mays and members of council, we've really enjoyed in my short time a very strong partnership with Housing Authority and Joel's staff. It's just been incredible. So I really appreciate all the assistance. We have a great partnership also with the Business Oregon. So anytime we have a question, we have just tremendous resources there to assist us. And I felt really confident as this opportunity became available and Mr. Madsen was sharing it with us. I felt confident that we could take it on just because of the strong partnerships that are already in place.
Am I to understand that we're going to be working also with Hood River and Sherman counties? Correct?
Yes, Mayor. Yes, this grant will cover a 3-county area just as the other grants do, and I'll let Joel speak more to that.
Yeah, Mayor Mays and council. So we have received a intergovernment agreement that's been approved pending the action here with the City of the Dalles from Sherman County. Which essentially that IGA, voices their interest in participating in this consortia regional approach. So we've received it from Sherman County as well as Wasco County. Hood River County has it on their Board of County Commission agenda for later this month, I believe. But they do intend to participate. Our hope, as with much of our work, is to maintain this regional approach in the work that we do. And we're excited to see hopefully that continue through this grant application as well.
So we, the city, would contract with you, the housing authority, and then you guys would be contracting with the other counties.
Mayor Mays and council members, the IGA essentially names their commitment to participate regionally. So that also means they won't be applying for separate funds, right? So we're compiling that regional request and that regionalization for the region based on that IGA. It's not necessarily a contract because we're not passing funds through to those individual governments. We're administering the funds regionally in their service area.
Thank you. Any other questions for either the housing authority staff or the city staff?
Mr. Mayor.
Oh, go ahead.
Councilor Richardson.
Thank you. I'm curious, is there an estimate for roughly how many families might be given assistance under this grant?
Mayor Mays, Councilor Richardson. So we anticipate approximately 100 people could be served. There are a lot of unknowns yet in this process that, we don't know for sure if we're going to receive the maximum award, for one. And also, as we determine the eligibility, there's going to be different needs per household that could vary in the amounts that could be requested or needed by household. So until we have some of those answers, I'd like to come back and report back at a later date. But our best guesstimate at this time may be around 100 or so households, with the anticipation that we'd receive a full $400,000 award from our grant application.
Any other questions? Okay, I'm looking for a motion.
Honorable Mayor,
Councilor-
yes. I move to authorize the city manager to execute the CDBG application and contracts between the City of the Dalles and Oregon Department of Housing for the COVID-19 Rental Assistance Program.
Mr. Mayor, this is Rod Runyon, I'd like to second that motion.
It's been moved by Councilor McLaughlin and seconded by Councilor Runyon to authorize the city manager to execute the aforementioned application and contracts.
Mayor
Is there any
Mays,
more-
Mayor Mays,
Yes.
can I ask you to please make an amendment to this this motion? And that is that I would strongly request that the council change the motion to read, move to authorize the city manager to execute the CDBG application and contracts between the City of the Dalles and Business Oregon for the COVID-19 Rental Assistance Program. So if we don't do that, then Business Oregon will make us come back and correct it. So please change this motion language. Thank you.
Okay, so this is between the City of the Dalles and Business Oregon. Okay, Councilor McLaughlin, is that okay with you?
Oh, yes. Would you like me to reread it or just authorize it and say it's okay?
I have to defer to the city attorney.
Please reread it, Councilor McLaughlin. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Business Oregon. All right, move to authorize the city manager to execute the CDBG application and contracts between the City of the Dalles and Business Oregon Department of Housing for the COVID-19 Rental Assistance Program.
It's
Is that
just
correct?
Business Oregon. You don't need the Oregon Department of Housing on there.
Business, all right, I'll do it one more time. I'll take that out. Move to authorize the city manager to execute the CDBG application and contracts between the City of the Dalles and Business Oregon for the COVID-19 Rental Assistance Program.
Councilor Runyon, would you like to second that?
Yes, I would, by golly.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilor McLaughlin and seconded by Councilor Runyon to authorize the city manager to execute that application and contracts. Is there any discussion, any more discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Madsen. Thank you, Ms. Cannon.
Thank you very much for your support.
Next on the agenda is item 13A, which is authorization to purchase a new Cat 930 loader. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and members of council. One of the items in the current budget is to purchase a new loader to replace a unit that is 54 years old and has over 10,000 hours of use on it. But before bringing this issue to the council for consideration, we conducted some analyses in-house to confirm that we actually needed to purchase a unit. We have another loader, and there's two loaders in the department. The other one's a 1993 936 with 9,000 of hours use on it. So we looked to see if we really had a need for two loaders, and we identified several situations around winter operations, street maintenance, and our large utility projects where we really do need two loaders as they're in use at different locations at the same time. Once we confirmed that we needed two loaders to meet our service needs, we looked at some options as to whether there were alternatives to the city owning a second loader, such as borrowing from any of our local partners, the county or ODOT, or renting a second loader as needed. In talking with these partners and investigating the rental market, we concluded that at just about at many of the times that we would need our second loader in use, our partners are using all of their equipment, and equipment is hard to come by on the rental market. So we concluded that we do in fact continue to need to have two loaders in our own ownership. We looked at the pricing and the options for purchasing. A new loader is available, being purchased from Peterson Cat, our local equipment, or a local equipment dealer, through Sourcewell, which is a public procurement system that we've recently discussed with council on some other purchases. We recently purchased an emergency backup generator and a sewer video camera system through this same procurement contract. Through Sourcewell, we can purchase a new loader with a savings of $72,848. The price to purchase a new 930M loader with an optional material handling arm would be $190,097.87, or $185,000 and some change without the optional material handling arm. This arm was recommended by staff as a safer way to move certain items within our yard and off of delivery trucks, such as manhole cones and rings. The new loader would come with a 5-year, 1,000-hour warranty. Staff did investigate the used equipment market for options to purchase a used loader. We did find a couple in the Oregon and Washington area that were 2018 models and had about 2,100 hours of use on each of them. But none of the used ones that we found had two of the features that we felt were important to us. One is a cold weather starting system, which we certainly need here, but it's not often used by or needed by construction companies in the valley, for example, where a lot of the used loaders are located. And the other is a rear radar detection system, which we thought was an important safety feature given the tight quarters that we're often operating our lowers, whether it's to remove snow from the downtown business area or even here in our own yard where traffic areas and equipment use are occurring in close proximity to each other. The two prices on the two used loaders were $152,000 and $155,000 and change. The purchase of the new loader through Sourcewell would be about $30,000 more than the used one. After consideration, staff believes that that additional expenditure is warranted because the new loader would have the warranty. It would be delivered to our Public Works facility for free. It would have the important operational and safety features that we are looking for in a new unit. And of course, there are no unknowns around use or maintenance histories. The current budget includes $175,000 for this purchase. And that is $15,097 less than the proposed purchase price. However, earlier this year, we saved $15,675 on the purchase of a new sewer video system, the video camera system within that same budget code. So with those savings, there are adequate funds available to cover this purchase. And with that, it's staff recommendation that the City Council move to authorize the purchase of a new Caterpillar 930M loader with an optional material handling arm from Peterson Cat through a Sourcewell pricing agreement in an amount not to exceed $190,097.87.
Any questions for the Public Works Director?
This is a big boys tractor. I looked it up online. I was disappointed you didn't have a picture of it in the packet. But anyway, in this day and age, and these are used everywhere all over the county. So it's time. I'm sorry you couldn't get 10,000 hours out of the particular one, but be that as it may, I'm for this.
We actually have 10,700 on the unit, on the current unit.
Oh,
Yeah.
good. I thought you said 9,000. All right.
9,000 on the other one. It's getting a little long in the tooth as well.
Gotcha. All right.
Any other questions? I have a question. 1966, did I miss something? What are you going to do with the old 1966 loader?
Oh, thank you for asking. We will be coming to council to declare that surplus, and it would be disposed of through auction.
Okay, there's no thought to donating that to the Fort Dalles Museum?
That could be, if council was, it's a little bit big for them, I think. And, you know, our staff actually has concerns around the safety of the unit. So I'd be a little reluctant, but we'd certainly be open to the conversation if that was council's desire.
Based on the reaction to my question, I want to clarify that was a joke.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Looking for a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we authorize the purchase of a new CAT 930M loader with an optional material handling arm from Peterson CAT through a Sourcewell pricing agreement in an amount not to exceed $190,000, $190,097.87.
Thank you, Council Randall. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
It's been moved by Councilor Randall and seconded by Councilor Richardson to approve the purchase of the front end of the loader. Is there any more discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 I see unanimous consent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have a resolution amending the city fee schedule. And I believe our finance director is the staff will give a report.
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yep. Thank you, Honorable Mayor, members of council. You have before you my agenda staff report for resolution number 21-001, amending the city fee schedule to add short-term rental fees to the planning department services. Back on September the 14th of 2020, City Council adopted the General Ordinance 20-1377, which established the STR license program with a fee assignment to happen at a later date. And the proposed fees are included into the new assignment, and I have that in front of you. Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions for Ms. Wilson? Councilor Runyon?
Okay, so looking through the attached list of all the fees and whatnot, these are the only changes that have to do with this particular item. There are no other fee changes included in this information. Everything else.
That is correct.
Okay. Are these fees for the short-term rental, is this just for a new application that's starting out, or is it going to affect those that are already in business, or does it wait till they renew?
Alice, do you want to answer those questions?
Yes, Mayor Mays and Councilor Runyon. My understanding is that this is just for renewal. So those that already have a license, some of those may extend for a couple more years, but when they do expire, then these fees will apply at that time.
So these are renewal fees.
That's correct. But also new, if someone is establishing a new short-term rental, they will pay these fees as well.
And, you know, I'm not clear on are these annual, or are the periods of their license longer than annual?
I believe they are annual. These fees, once they go into effect, they will be annual.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions for the staff? No other questions? Looking for a motion.
see if I can do a better job this time. Mayor Mays, I move to adopt resolution number 21-001, amending city fee schedule to add short-term rental fees for planning department services.
We hear a second.
I second the
that.
motion.
Go ahead, Counselor Long Curtis. You second the motion?
I second the motion.
Okay, it's been moved by Counselor McLaughlin and seconded by Counselor Long Curtis to approve the resolution. Is there any more discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much, Ms. Wilson and Ms. Cannon. Is there any other business to come before the city council tonight? Anybody? Okay, with that, I'm going to adjourn the meeting. Thank you all very much for attending. We'll see you January 25th. Thank you.